Up next, another view from the top segment with Nicholas Johnston.
Good afternoon. We are into the second half of an awesome afternoon here at the What's Next Summit. Thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in online. Continued huge thanks to our partners who have made today possible. And today's conversation has been sponsored by Danone. So I'm very happy to welcome to the stage their CEO for Americas, Shane Grant. Shane, welcome to What's Next. Great to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Let's start kind of big picture. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the history of Danone and their view of stakeholder capitalism and how that fits into the company's aspirations.
Yeah, happy to, Nick. And firstly, fantastic to be here with you this afternoon, and good afternoon, everybody. Look, Danone is, for those of you that don't know the company, a big multinational food and beverage player at its foundation. But Nick, we like to think about our company as a different kind of food and beverage company. And what I mean by that is it's a company that fundamentally believes that performance and purpose are hardwired and codependent. And what I mean by that is if you think about our company, and firstly, if you just go back in the history of our company, and you go back 50 years, and one of the founding leaders of our company, Frank Rabu, at 50 years ago made quite a foundational speech, and at the time a very groundbreaking speech that talked about the idea that the company had a dual mission. Had an economic mission, we're a business, we're serious about the business, but equally it had a societal mission. And so this dual project was really core to the foundation of the business. And so that as a sort of a foundational belief of the company was really, really important. I think the second piece is our mission, which our mission is pretty bold and straightforward, which is health through food to as many people as possible. And that manifests in the company really, I would say, in two forms. One is what we sell, which fundamentally is good food and beverage. Biggest yogurt company in the world, biggest yogurt company in North America, biggest plant-based company in the world, biggest plant-based company in North America, big beverage business, big coffee business, and a big specialized nutrition business. But equally important, how we do it really matters to us. And, we want to, of course, have a good business, but we want to use our business as a forceful good.
Right.
And so how we run the business and how that manifests is really, really important to us. The third is governance, which is we're a B Corp. And so that hardwires some really important governance items.
And that, I just want to put a point on that because when I learned about that, B Corps, in my experience, have been relatively small corporations and relatively newer corporations. And so to hear something that's as old as yours and as large as yours as a B Corp, I think it's almost as if putting your money where your mouth is, as far as we don't just talk about this, it's we're literally built as a corporation that we have to do it like that.
No, exactly. And, to give you a sense of that, over 80% of the revenues of the company globally are now in B Corp certification, including North America.
I mean, even not to take it a little step back, and folks who don't know what a B Corp is, what does that really entail?
It's essentially a governance structure that requires a certain amount of accountability and transparency on both economic but societal measures. So it essentially pushes the business, and any business that's one of those B Corps, to run business the right way for its employees, for society, the ultimate sort of expression, I would say, of stakeholder capitalism. And yes, you're correct, it's not typically associated with big businesses, but we are a big business and we are largely B Corp certified. It has a really important impact on our business. Firstly, it obviously drives a certain amount of accountability and transparency into the business. I would say beyond that, though, it's something we firmly believe is a real competitive advantage for our business. Increasingly with our customers, this is relevant. Increasingly with our consumers, this is highly, highly relevant. The third part, which is probably under-advertised, is what it does for our people, which, in a tight labor market, which of course we are in, retention, engagement, recruitment matters.
Right.
And, this is a real pride point for our people. It's a real pride point. And, the last thing I would say on it, Nick, is it's B Corp's not a static thing. And it's not a static thing because every 3 years you renew. And so it constantly pushes the business to evolve and change and frankly be better. So, one example of that is methane, where, we're a big dairy business, and part of our greenhouse footprint is from methane. And So we have really ambitious targets to be better. And so we committed that we would reduce the methane emissions from our dairy supply chain by 30% by 2030. That's not easy. I can tell you it's not easy. We don't know all the mechanisms we're going to use, but it's pushing us to innovate. And innovate at a really fundamental level on the farm. Farm management practices, farmer partnerships, everything down to sort of how we feed cows. So we're experimenting with seaweed, for example, as a food additive that fundamentally can reduce the methane footprint of the business.
That's probably the first time during What's Next, cows and seaweed have been used in a sentence together. Let's dig in on the specifics of that. What I love, companies always talk about sort of their sustainability goals and what their aspirations are. The more we can bring that into the real world, I think is useful. So I think there's nothing more real than what you feed your cows. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, look, there's a number of experiments we run in the business to sort of constantly push ourselves to be better, and one of them is feed additives and how that interacts with our farm supply. So this is a partnership we have with a business called Symbrosia, a partnership we have with Cornell University, which is obviously a storied academic institution for research, and we're experimenting. But I think, Nick, that the piece that we're pushing on more and more in our business is partnership to go after some of these bigger goals. Because, if you think about our business and how we sell, we're fundamentally a partnership business. We sell through big customers, through big retailers. But increasingly what we're doing is expanding the aperture of that partnership mentality. And a lot of that is public and private. So, a few recent examples where, for example, the infant formula crisis in this country, the unbelievable crisis that was the infant formula crisis in the United States. We were really proud to partner with the White House and as part of Operation Fly Formula and bring in 2 million units of infant formula from our European business into the US. We're increasingly pushing on partnership as a model. We were really proud in the last 18 months to partner with the White House on the Conference for Hunger, Health and Nutrition and make north of a $20 million pledge to increase access, research, product improvement. And actually, as recently as last week, yogurt was approved as fundamentally a category that we could talk about and claim around positive impact on type 2 diabetes. So we're increasingly expanding, I would say, the model of this performance and purpose method that fundamentally we think is the future of business.
Let's dig in a little bit more on the future and on nutrition. This is a very interesting time for this line of work with advanced drugs coming around, weight loss. From your vantage point, how do you view that and what's coming next?
Well, firstly, it's stunning, Nick, it's taken us that long to talk about GLP-1, but thanks for asking about it. Look, I think that food and beverage is an incredibly dynamic moment for the reason you raised and a bunch of other reasons. But I would say that the way that we think about the future is, I would say, broadly in two timeframes. One is what we call present forward, which is what are the big macro trends with the consumer today that we can address. So take our yogurt business, for example. Gut health, high protein, immunity, low and no sugar. I think we would agree, big macro trends in food that we can address and we can serve through our brands, which, by the way, is good for society and great for our business. And it's no surprise that when we serve those needs, the business performs.
So looking for where those two things intersect.
Absolutely, yes.
Let's stick with this future thought before we get the hook here. We like to end on one fun thing. We mentioned backstage all the secret labs that Danone has around the world developing the new cool things. Come on, let us into the labs and tell us cool stuff that are coming on the horizon.
Well, Nick, I can't let you fully into the lab, of course, but I will tell you we do have the labs. We have one in Colorado, for example. We have one in Shanghai. We have labs all across Europe. And I would tell you our research and development people are incredibly talented, so we're incredibly blessed. Maybe two that I could let you a little bit on, and they are very new to the US market, and I think maybe available upstairs for those of you that would like to try it. If you just take two sort of back to this notion of trends, snacking. Snacking in food and beverage in the United States for sure is a trend that's on the move. And so we have the capability and in fact have launched a range of products that have yogurt and food prepackaged. And Nick, I think you were able to experience one backstage.
I can speak from experience. I ate the entire thing, not just because you were a sponsor.
And we appreciate
It was
the
very
business
good.
snack, where you can tip the cacao and the nuts into the oikos, and there you have a ready-made snack to go for breakfast, either from the home or purely on the go.
And doing that is harder than you think.
It is harder than you might think, and from a packaging perspective and from a food science perspective. That maybe the other one, which is clearly a trend in the United States at the moment, is cold foam and coffee. So we have a big coffee business, and you see cold foam as certainly a trend in coffee. And what we've seen with consumers, they want to have that experience at home. And so we have brought to market a new-to-the-world experience where you can literally, on the top of your coffee, add to that a cold foam experience, which is superb in either hot or cold coffee. So I know you had a chance to try that.
Coffee as well. It was pretty good. Shane, this was great. Both of those things I think are upstairs. Don't go up yet. We have more conversations to come, but they'll be up there when we're done. Shane, thanks so much for being here. And Danone, thanks for making this today.
Pleasure.